On today's episode, what's up, nerds? Found this at a thrift store this morning. This here is the MX991U flashlight. It's quite unique in the sense that, well, just look at it. It's an angle-headed flashlight whose origins begin almost 100 years ago. This design was first developed by Eveready as the Model 2694 back in 1927. The military soon modified this 10 years later and rebranded it the TU-122. I've got no idea what the TU stands for either, but whatever. They were made of brass and were used during both World War II and the Korean War. They remained unchanged until 1963 when they started making them out of high-impact plastic and enhanced gasketing for waterproofing. The model designation was changed to MX99U, the U standing for underwater. Although I wouldn't trust them to be submerged for extended periods, more like water resistant. And then during the Vietnam War, it was overhauled again. They were now being constructed out of polypropylene and ABS plastic, and a black oxide brass three-way switch that let you select between off, on, and temporary or signal was introduced. An extended tail cap provided storage for a spare bulb and different colored lenses for signaling and such. In 1973, a switch guard was added to prevent accidental activation. The last thing you wanted was to bump your light with the gear, turning it on and giving away your location at night. These were primarily made by Fulton Industries, but the military had other contractors produce them like Bright Star, USA Light, and GT Price, who actually made this particular one. Fulton Industries continues to produce the originals, while the design has been copied, modified, and manufactured by tons of other companies worldwide. The design really hasn't changed and is still being used by the military today. The only real change is that Fulton has started offering LED upgrades to the flashlight. And that's one of the things on the grocery list for this guy. Okay, here it is. Paid a whopping $2.99 for it. Yellow tags are full price today, so I broke the bank on this one. We will GT price. It'll focus. Made in Los Angeles, California. So first things first, we're gonna pop some batteries in here. See if it fires up. Use the old mix and match, and it's the best results actually. Duracell and Energizer. Only two D cells I have left that are new. Screw it up. And as you can see here, right now it's off. This is a nice, you can see it looks really cool. It was black, but it's, used a lot. It has rubbed off, so now it's like a brass color now. Well-used flashlight. So it's off. I'm going to turn it to, this is the flash, and you hit this little button here to engage it. This is a little temporary switch, and nothing. And this is full on. Nothing. So now we're looking at either the switch or the bulb. Let's check the bulb. It's easier. So we just kind of unscrew it. It's out here. And there's a little, you take out the housing here. Another unscrewing right there. Everything is nice. I can see why they have this rated for underwater. Everything has gaskets and plastic stops and everything. It's really nice. That's just a regular old incandescent flashlight bulb. Hang on, let me see. Can I see it in here? Let me get a better, it doesn't look like there's a filament left. No filament. This bulb it's dead. It's just as well. These are, compared to the modern day LEDs, these are just laughable now. You might as well just strike a match and use that, So replacing the bulb or upgrading the bulb was already on the list. So let me get that ordered. But just to kind of go over some of the things on this guy here. Excuse me. The back compartment here kind of screws out of here. And let's see. There we have some filters that go over the lens there. Well, just plain white. I think that's more protective for, this might be a diffuser, but it's really, really thick. I mean, you can't see, you can barely see light through it. Here is the diffuser one. Makes a nice prismatic kind of thing right there. And then the red for low light applications. So they all just kind of live up in here in the little back cap. That screws in right there. And let's see, you have a little clip here. Oh, that's kind of hard to grab. Huh. Let me pause this and get my multi-tool real quick. Okay, with persuasion, this came up. So if you had a hook or something, you could hang this up, like that. I have a little better idea. I'm going to put a high-powered magnet right up in here. That way you can just stick it directly to metal surfaces. And yeah, that should be perfect right there. So anyway, let me get that light bulb on order. I mean, the contacts look good. I'll spray some contact cleaner under here. The switches are not really easy to get to. They look like they're riveted in. I know on some of the aftermarket ones I've looked at, there's actually little Phillips head screws that screw in there. But these are, that's it. They're in. So just maybe spray a ton of, open the battery compartment down here. If I can see the switch this way. It might be hard to see, but yeah, the switch is kind of back in there, upper part. Just spray a whole bunch of deoxit or contact cleaner back there and hope for the best. So I'm going to place my order. I think the bulb I'm going to get, it's a, I forgot who makes it, but it's a Cree LED. It's a 5-watt LED bulb. And I found them at eBay, of all places. I'm going not use the Amazon route this time. I'm going to eBay and get this guy. It's through a seller's store. So that might be a couple of days. In the meantime, I don't know. Sorry about the knock right there. This was part of the flashlight for the garden barn. See, McElhaney, November 91, number 3. Same on this one here. Part of me wants to get some alcohol and wipe that off. Part of me just wants to leave it for posterity. Who knows? Taking a sticker off, though. This flashlight doesn't belong to Minnie Pearl. All right, be back in a couple of days. Since this video is, let's face it, it's a low-effort video. It's just replacing a light bulb and a flashlight when it comes down to it. So I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting, a little bit more informative. Show you how to harvest those magnets out of an old hard drive. This one's a Hitachi Death Star. It's made 2009, so the fact that it doesn't work anymore is not a big shock. So a lot of people like, for security reasons, just running a drill bit through here or something, and so nobody will grab the data. But if you're harvesting the magnets out of here, you can kill several birds with one stone. And these magnets, I mean, they just have maybe 1.7 million uses. They're just nice, powerful, compact. So what we have to do is get this top lid off first. Almost all hard drives are going to be set up like this. All the screws now, you usually have the warranty breakers located under these stickers, but I do not feel, and the best way to find out, just go run your finger and it'll be a nice indentation. I don't feel any. This is the warranty breaker right here, and they didn't put a sticker over it. Maybe this guy? No. So I'll fast forward, just time lapse this thing, and we'll get to it. Okay, now we're going to see if we can lift this off. Sometimes they come off easily. Sometimes you have to pry them off. This may be a prying off kind of situation here. Let me Get the universal pry tool here, which is my trusty old electrician's knife. Nice sturdy blade. Just kind of fish that in there and pry it maybe. Man, this one is really Right. Did I get all the screws? I'm sure I did. I didn't feel any warranty busters in there. Oh, there it is. Just very well sealed over time. Hitachi really did seal these things up. And there we go. And there is one magnet right there. And let's see. This one, is this okay? That was extremely easy, folks. They never usually come off that easy. And you can just slide this guy off most of the time. Let's see. Get that in the camera. Oh, not in the camera shot. Hang tight. Okay. These little brackets that hold the magnets. You can see they have these little dimples right here that hold it in place. And if it's relatively new, sometimes you can kind of just slide this down just enough to break the plane of this and then just lift up. But this has been on here for so long that sometimes the coating of the magnet, like there's a little chrome plating, I guess, or something on there, it'll actually bond to this back plate and it'll be a pain to try and scrape off. So what we have to go do, put it in a bench vise and just kind of bend this plate back to give you enough play where the magnet's exposed, and then you can lift it off. What I'm going to do now is there's another magnet right here. And basically, all you have to do is just look for different screws. I mean, your mileage may vary on, depending on what hard drive or brand you have, but there's usually always two, one above and one below this armature here. And that's what causes that's how it controls the armature itself right there, using this coil and all sorts of beep boops and whatever that I really am not too privy on, but you can see how it operates. That's kind of cool. So yeah, we just have to take this armature off. Oh, let's see if it'll focus right there, and pull this bracket out, and then bring it into the shop and get it on the bench vise, and we'll just go from there. I thought it would just be a quick removal, but this one's kind of a pain, so I'll kind of go over that with you. These armatures, like I said, it's going to vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. This one here, you have a little, if you can even see it, you have a little set screw down there, if you can see that little hole, and that needs to come out, and then you need to remove these platters so you can slide it up, because this will, you can see it starting to move now, but it's catching on these. So we have to remove all of these. And that's why I'm saying kill two birds with one stone, because once you have these platters removed, then you can destroy them. Nobody will ever get your data off of these. But yeah, they all have to come out, which means removing like a dozen screws. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a half dozen screws. And then this lifts off theoretically, and you can start removing the platters, and then the armature will come out. And then this bracket down here will come out, and then we'll get on the bench vise. Got all the main platter off the top. These little spindles had to come off, plus some little extra pieces. What I was able to do is just kind of bend this all the way down and come on. And just kind of wiggle this up, and it comes off. Now, this one was giving me a little issue. I thought it would just be, foolishly thought it would be easy just to lift it off, but it didn't. So I had to take the old pry bar here. And when I did that, it actually bent this up enough to where I can just slide the magnet off now, and the magnet broke in half. But two small pieces are still good. I mean, these little powerful things. I mean, let me see if I can get this little guy here. That's the beauty about the magnets. They'll stick to all your tools if you're trying to get them out. Of course, they'll also stick to the bracket that they came off of as well. So, and it's not going to cooperate easily, because why would it? Slide towards the end here, get enough air under it, I guess. Lift it up. Now, let's do this with a somewhat better tool. There it is. Get that eventually. So what we have here are two pieces of a magnet. And here's that coating I was telling you about. I don't know if you can see it right there. See how it kind of lifts up? That's what kind of gets adhered to the bracket. All right, on this side here. That'll kind of do some kind of weird meld on that one because it's not bonded very good to the magnet. I mean, over time, I guess it just peels up naturally. So you have your little magnets here. I'm going to bring this to the bench vise. I don't know. Let me see if I can just do this. But the other one did it by hand easily. Let's see if I can get this guy to bend a little bit. Oh, there it is. I can. Oh, Weatherman to the rescue. And then this should just break right off, lift right off. And there you go. I mean, these on this Hitachi, these magnets are very cheap, but they're still strong. You know, you can still use them in little things. If you need a little small magnet, a little space that's relatively powerful, perfect. This is what the nicer ones look like. The bigger ones that have come out of probably a Seagate or a Western Digital. They're a lot bigger, a lot stronger. And this is what we're going to be using on the flashlight because while these are, powerful, they're not going to support the weight of, this with two D cells in it. This will do that with zero problem. The only issue is, even though this is nice and crescent shaped, and it kind of matches, it's not the same shape. I may have to, or I am going to, get the Dremel tool or maybe the my grinder and grind the edges down enough to fit. That shouldn't affect the magnetism or anything like that. Hopefully I can do that without shattering the magnet. And if we can get to just slide right in this little recess here underneath the ring holder, we can epoxy that in there, make a nice solid fit, and this will be magnetized on the bottom, and we can hang it up or set it on the side somewhere, or even straight ahead if need be, if you don't want your flashlight to fall over in the wind, or in my case, my clumsy ass will just knock it down somehow. So that's how you harvest the hard drives at the magnet. So there's your little tutorial on that. Like I said, your mileage may vary by manufacturer, but hopefully you can salvage some pieces out without much distress, even though it might not look pretty in the end. But sometimes you'll get lucky and get a good hard drive with a nice big magnet that you can really use all in one piece. But a couple of small pieces, great for little craft projects and things like that. So with that being said, I'm going to go get this thing on a grinder and try and get it down to fit the flashlight. Got the magnet ground down, so it'll just sit right in there. And to secure the magnet into this, I'm going to use some 2-part epoxy, the JB Weld Clear Weld 5-minute set. I hate using super glue. Super glue, in my experience, and I've said this before, only bonds two things together. That's human skin to human skin. Anything else is just, an exercise in futility. So what we're going to do, we just need a little bit here. Going to take this out. Get this in the frame so you can see. It's back here. There we go. That's a little bit better, Billy. Get proper framing. Just a little drop. You don't need a whole lot. That's the resin. And you want equal parts. So you have to scientifically measure it out. Squeeze. Squeeze, that's enough. All right, that looks about the same. And with this stuff, you want to kind of stir it up until it'll start to get a little cloudy. That's when you know the magic's working. Stir, 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 stir. I'll just set a little bit. I mean, I know it says 5 minutes, so you have some time to work with it. And in the meantime, while that's starting to, I guess, cure or let the magic happen with the chemistry, we want to kind of score the surface up a bit so it's not so smooth. You want to get it a little bit rough so the epoxy has something to adhere to. You're effectively creating more surface for surface tension. So I just have a little piece of sandpaper here. We're just going to scratch it up a little bit. Nothing major. Just enough to scuff it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the light. Just a few little scratches. To clean the magnet, that chrome wrap plating, whatever, that really flimsy shell, that came off when I ground it down. So this is nice, but we're going to still rough up one side of it just to make sure. I don't know how effective this is going to be on the magnetic surface. Oh, it's a little scratchy. Kind of wipe off any debris on there. And then we can apply the epoxy a little bit on the high tech stirring device, which is basically a zip tie that I cut the tip off. A little bit here, just follow the contours of the magnet. You don't need a whole lot. It'll just spread out afterwards. And we just, one's a scuffed side, one the scuffed sides facing each other. So, boom, like that. Now, we can let it sit and dry, or if we want to apply pressure to this, instead of downward force, we can use the other magnet we pulled out of the other hard drive, not the one we showed in the video, but this came out of a good one. Pull this down, put the magnet in there. That's keeping this magnet pulled down on top of the epoxy. The epoxy is going to cure in about 5 minutes, but we're going to let it wait like 24 hours just to make a solid connection. And then we should have a nice magnetized, well, a magnetic base. We'll just call it that, in a sense that it's got a magnet on it and it's a base. So the definition is there. Anyway, we're going to let time do its magic. There's a saying about the best laid plans of mice and men, or something like that, about things going sideways no matter how much you plan ahead. And well, that's what happened here. When I had the magnet sitting down, being adhered to the end cap here, it adhered quite well. I mean, it didn't take any time at all to cure. But what happened was there was a sizable gap in between the magnet and this outer lip here. And as a result, when I went to stick it on a metal surface, it didn't really make contact. It was strong, but it wouldn't be strong enough to support the weight of the flashlight with the batteries. So I took that other magnet from the previous video and I went to grind that down and make it fit. Well, that kind of split in half, but a lot more epoxy on there. It's working just fine. So I'm going to let this cure for a while, but as you can see, it's nice and flush with that. Also, I'm going to document this because this will never happen again. The replacement bulb came in a day early. So this is how it looks here. Nice, strong little LED. And I'll throw a link below of the eBay auction. I guess it's a seller that just sells these regularly. And as soon as this dries out, we'll get to swapping that bulb out and see how this looks and performs and sticks and whatever. Yeah, just hang tight. All right, gonna swap out the bulb here. Just unscrew this little lens cap and just pull this little guy out, and this bulb is held in by this little grommet, screw, nut. I don't know what you would call this guy here, but hey, it's just a one-for-one swap. And I'll throw a link down below to the eBay sellers store that sells these. These are made by Cree LEDs, and they're rated for like 5 watts. And the good thing about this old flashlight is that the reflector is actually made of metal. It's not it's not painted plastic like most are nowadays. And that's good because even though the LED is smaller and draws less power, it's a lot brighter and it does produce a fair amount of heat. So this will actually help dissipate that heat a little bit better. If it was one of these plastic, not diffusers, but the little reflectors, you could actually warp it and it would distort it and you'd get an uneven beam. So there, it looks pretty swell. I'll stop using terminology that's over 100 years old and pop this guy back on. And we'll just finish reassembling the light here and fire this puppy up. It's been 24 hours-ish since we've set up that epoxy cure, and yeah, it's nice, dry, and did whatever epoxy needs to do. I mean, these aren't going anywhere. And I can see, I went through and sprayed down the switch assembly inside with some deoxit. So if you turn it on, this is the temporary or the momentary one. You just hit this little button right here. There it is. If I knew Morse code, it'd be even more impressive, but I don't. So it's not. We throw the constant on and you can see it's really bright. And it's a shame I don't have the original bulb or it wasn't working, because I could do a before and after comparison. But let me just pan up right here. The sun is nice and bright this morning. It's hitting the back of these blinds. The auto iris in the camera is, kind of dimming it down so it doesn't, blow it out. But yeah, the flashlight is illuminating the spot for the sunlight coming through. So that's really impressive. I mean, if you can illuminate sunlight, duh, really impressive. So now I'm going to move on to show you the magic of these magnets. How do they work? I'm going to try to do this with one hand. Just going to have to up here, move the clip out of the way because it'll block the magnets, and we're going to get a nice flat section of this bracket here.
Did you see that? It sticks. Huh?
Yes, it sticks. When you turn on, it kind of aim it wherever you want. There you go. Turn us around and leave it back out this way. Leave it. So we'll eliminate the need for having, if we don't have a hook or anything really, practical to hang this from, we can always use the magnets, provided you have a metal surface up top, or, if you have a metal surface, you're working on a metal top table or something like that, stick this down and, pretty much guaranteed not to fall over. But, if you're going to do that, you might as well lay it on its side and kind of angle it a bit. So it sticks and it lights up. Huzzah. And that about wraps it up for this video. I apologize again. It was kind of low effort. All we really did was swap out a light bulb, throw in some fresh batteries, and put some magnets on the back. But at least now you know where to get, some high-powered magnets if you've got an old hard drive lying around. And everybody should have a decent flashlight. The flashlight option on your cell phone, it's good in an emergency or something like that, but it's meant to be a light that's dispersed. It's not going to make a nice, focused beam like, a flashlight. Even this guy with the original bulb, as dim as it was, would have probably cast a better light than your flashlight option on your cell phone. So, invest in a nice little flashlight, or if, you're lucky enough to find a little fixer-upper like this in a thrift store or something like that, perfect candidate. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and commenting and, all the good stuff that goes along with this. And I really hope you enjoy it. Hopefully I can find some more interesting stuff to make some more content with. And yeah, until then, you guys just take it easy.